Oh, I thought Jay was going to keep singing. Hey guys, it's Cole from TCG Cardcast, and today I am here with another TCG's TCG Cardcast. Today I'm here with
Jay, Drappep,
and Jesus.
And I am your host, Cole, and today we're going to be talking about cards we tech into our decks and engines we run in our decks. And I figured I would start us off with my Cyber Dragon deck. The card that I put to tech into my deck is a card called Magnet Reverse. And it's a quick play spell card, and what it does is I get to target one of my machine or rock type monsters that are banished from my graveyard, and that cannot be normal summoned or set, and I get to special summon them. That works with my deck because literally everything in my extra deck that isn't a link is a machine that cannot be normal summoned or set, because obviously there are fusion monsters and Xyz monsters. So I can just play that card, and I can bring back a Cyber End Dragon, or a Cyber Twin, or a Chimera Tech Rampage, or whatever I want. And it's a quick play, so if it happens during my turn, I can just go straight from my hand, and then now it's back, and it's not even taking up an extra monster zone. Another part is I can use it, if I play Cyberload Fusion to banish one of them, Magnet Reverse works with banished monsters as well, which is even better. The cards I engine my deck with are my A, B, and C cards for the ABC Dragon Buster. They work best because they help me protect my deck from card effects, specifically spells, traps, and monsters, so I guess any card effects in general. And if I can manage to get all three in my graveyard or all three in my field, then I can banish them to summon an ABC Dragon Buster, which is obviously an amazing card. Jay, you know the real annoyances of what this card can do. I think I definitely annoyed you enough times with that card, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's also good because I can discard my Hers, and my Hers will get their effects to add a Cyber Dragon to my hand, which is amazing. But the other great thing is if my opponent targets them for a card effect or by battle, I can tribute them and then summon all three back. And then when it comes back to my turn, I can actually send all three away to summon Decode Talker. I can go into 3, send ABC to the graveyard, get the Decode Talker, and then I can banish them again to make another ABC Dragon Buster. And there are cards in this deck that help me recycle this back. Like the Cyber Repair Plants, they let me put a Dragon Buster back into my extra deck, which is really nice. It does help. I feel like the Magnet Reverse definitely helps the deck work, for sure. And the ABCs definitely help me protect against stuff. And there are some cards in this deck, like Limit Removal, that destroy monsters during the end phase. And these guys, they can be sacrificed instead of me destroying them, so... Jay, you got some interesting tech cards. I know that for a fact.
So, I think out of all my tech cards, I think my main one would probably be Torque Tune Gear, which is a machine union tune effect monster.
It's a light tuner.
A light level 1 tuner to be specific, which in my Blue Eyes deck is very good. I can search it with Sage, and what it does is allows me to equip it to any of my monsters. I like to equip it usually to my Chaos Dragon, my Max Dragon, all that. And when it gives them a 500 boost in attack and defense.
Doesn't that make the Max Dragon into 5,000, right?
It would make him 45.
45. Yeah, I always forget that for some reason I don't know what put it in my brain that Max Dragon had 4,500 attack points. Maybe it's because I keep getting it in End Dragon mixed, or not End Dragon, that and Ultimate Dragon mixed up. Yeah.
No, but either way, the great thing about this card is now it's treated as a spell now. Pretty much, it's a monster effect spell equipped. First time that monster would die, this dies instead. It's a great. I just like the way it's like treated. You can unequip it anytime. So, what I actually read it a couple times. What I find interesting, because I could actually probably work around it if I really wanted to. It makes my monsters tuners.
Really?
Yes, it changes that monster to a tuner.
Huh.
So if I really wanted to, I could probably really get some interesting cards in this deck.
Yeah.
I never got dabbled into it yet, but that's something I could probably do in the future.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I didn't know it did that.
Yeah.
So it in itself is a tuner.
Yes.
But it makes the things it's equipped to tuners.
Yes.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun stuff. I have 2 other cards here. I'll get to the spell first. My Dragon Ravine. It's usually spell. I think most people know this one for Dragoonides if they played it. I use it mostly. Cole does not like that card at
I
all.
don't like it. I don't like that it's in Blue Eyes.
He just knows why I run in Blue Eyes. I think it's a great way to like cycle and get rid of cards or like drag into my graveyard. On top of that, I run Beacon of the Beacon, one Beacon of White.
Oh, Beacon of White. Yeah, I was like, what Beacon?
So in this card, depending on how many Blue Eyes I have in my graveyard, I can attack that many times. So Dragon Ravine also helps me attack multiple times.
Right.
So just keep throwing Blue Eyes, you can attack multiple times with that.
Right.
So that's good for that. And on top of that, I can just keep throwing Stone and Keeper in the graveyard with it. And if I have Master in my hand, if I can't really grab anything, I can throw it and still get the effect off.
Right.
So it's still, I know you don't think it's good, but I at least know what I can do with it.
Right.
So I think it's just opinions. And then the last card is the Calculator. I think this is my most unique card in this deck, which puts me... What, you don't think so?
They can't see me, but I'm shaking my head very slowly at you.
Well, this card, I personally think is one of the cards that I don't think anyone would really think to have in a Blue Eyes deck. Because it gains 300 times star level for every card I have own on the field.
Does it say star level?
It's combined levels of all monsters.
Oh, that'd be really... I would say, if it said star level, I was like, that's an old card. Really old card.
I know, I wish it said star level, that'd be more cool.
There are a couple cards in the game that are like, oh, they have to have the same star level?
No, it's combined star level either way. Or, I'm saying star level, but levels. One Blue Eyes in the Calculator alone makes the Calculator 3,000. So, 8, and then Calculator's 2 star alone. So, and it's 300 times...
300 times each level?
Yes, and it includes himself.
Yeah.
It's a great... I think it's a great beater, and then it's an effect monster, so I know there's ways around it, but it's a card no one usually expects in a Blue Eyes deck. And it's one of those out-of-nowhere stuff, and worst comes worst, someone gets around it. I have other cards to just sack it and get something else out.
Right. Makes sense. There are other calculators, aren't there?
There's a lot of calculators. There's calculators for there's...
What are their names? It's calculator, and then it's...
For the life of me, if you want to look it up, you can.
Yeah, if that's what you're going to do, Jesus, that'd be great. But there's like one for synchros, right?
There's one for synchros. There's one for XZs. There's now one for links.
There is.
I just gave it to actually saw it does.
Oh really?
Speaking of which, I've actually found it randomly in my box. I don't remember if it was for links exactly or cybers. It might have been actually stated links. There's one for literally everything, which is really cool, I think. But in my opinion, I still think the Calculator is the best.
Except for fusions.
Well,
I feel like why would they need one for synchros though? I just realized that.
I don't think there's one for synchros.
I don't think there is because they have the same
level
system.
I was like when you said synchros, I think I just nodded my head and said yes to you.
Yeah, you did. I was like, there's one for C's. Yep. There's one for synchros. Yep.
That's pretty much what I did. But there is one for this, XZs, and links.
I just looked over at Jesus' phone, and he's currently hovering over a link that says calculator deck profile.
That's a thing?
That's a thing.
Apparently, yeah.
I actually really want to watch this.
I'm interested. I'm very interested. If you can find the deck list for me without playing the video, that'd be interesting. I'd really want to talk about that.
Well, we can talk about that later.
So is that all of
that was pretty much the main 3 cards I find interesting.
What does the Beacon of White do?
Beacon of White is an interesting card. This is a card I think that most Blue Eyes players should have. I know some people don't. If as long as I can have 3 or more Blue Eyes monsters in my graveyards, I can target one of them and special summon it. Its effects are negated and equip it to this card. When this leaves the field, banish the equipped monster. But it can attack multiple times depending on how many Blue Eyes monsters I have.
Okay.
So my deck runs a lot of Blue Eyes monsters.
It runs about standard Blue Eyes monsters, yeah.
I run, 3,
3 Blue Eyes, 3 alternatives, that's 9.
3 spirits.
That's 9. And then the 2 rituals, that's 11.
And then on top of that, you can also count.
Yeah, you can count Blue Eyes Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, Blue Eyes Ultimate, Blue Eyes Twin Burst, those guys too.
Yeah, those guys will count towards it. So it can actually, when I get this out, Its only little downfall is, the reason I only run one, you can't play this card if there's already a Beacon of White in the graveyard. So I only run one for that, so...
Makes sense.
And I don't... There's not really a purpose to run more than one.
Is that it?
That's pretty much it for me. I think that's all the really out-of-place cards in my deck.
Drappep, my wonderful comrade, what you got for us?
Sorry, I haven't been listening this whole time. I've been playing Pokemon Go. No, I've actually there's a copyright strike on one of my videos. I'm trying to figure out which one. Isn't that just a blast, huh?
Yeah.
So my deck was originally supposed to be a armored dragon deck.
Right.
Where it had like the complete set in there, and so the entire deck was focused on no one could do anything until I get what I want on the field.
Right.
That was pretty much the whole basis of the deck. But then once those cards were pretty much stolen, I then set the whole deck up with the same premise in mind, but with Barrel Dragon instead.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like missing one card with that deck, which is Jinzo, which completely cancels out everything else that I need.
You're still looking for Jinzo.
I'm still looking for Jinzo.
You want an Ultra Jinzo?
Maybe.
All right.
So pretty much the deck is set up as Sekretsu Armor, Trap Hole, and what is the one that bounces creatures up to the hand?
Emergency Evacuation Device?
Maybe.
Compulsory
Compulsory Activation Device.
And so those cards pretty much act as kind of like a buffer between me and my opponent.
Right.
Which, if you play something big, I destroy it. If you attack, I destroy it. And if you play something that's not big that I can't destroy with Trap Hole, I'll just bounce it back to your hand.
Right.
It's a great way of making enemies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also like using a lot of like Man-Eating Bug.
Right.
Or like Wall of Illusion.
Just basic good monsters, yeah.
Yeah. Those also act as pretty much like buffers. But then I also run Hydrogeddon, and I also run Bubonic Vermin, which Bubonic Vermin, if you flip it, you can then special summon more, which allows me to sacrifice them quite easily for like something bigger such as Barrel Dragon. And same goes with Hydrogeddon. A lot of people think Hydrogeddon is my main strategy. It's not. I'm using them so I could sacrifice them later for Barrel Dragon.
Yeah. No, for the people who watched the video I uploaded, and I guess the video that you uploaded too, I'll probably link that as the video to click at the end of the video or at the end of the podcast. But you got a thing for beating me when you have two Hydrogeddons on the field.
It sometimes actually surprisingly wins, even though there's decks out there now that could like boost for like 2,000 and up, which like back when I was playing it, that was such a hard move to pull off.
Yeah, like the Gravekeeper deck I'm currently working on, the entire point of the deck is, all right, summon this, summon this, summon this. They all have plus 500 attack thanks to the field spell. This one boosts them for every blah, 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 blah. Fusion summon them. They each get X times the number of levels. Boom.
I think everyone's favorite to go to card for boosting cards back then was Black Pendant.
Yeah.
Which, like, what is it? It boosts monsters by 500 attack and you gain life.
The equipped monster gains 500 attack points, and if Black Pendant is removed from the field, your opponent takes 500 points of damage.
Yeah, it was one of those kind of things where it's like, come at me, bro. I just made mine 500 more. And that was like one way of getting your creature up to 2,000, but now I'm seeing people like, oh, I synchro summon, now I have a 3,000. I'm like, you have a what?
I used to play a really fascinating tech in a defensive deck, kind of similar to what you have now, but a little different, where I would play 3 copies of Obnoxious Celtic Guardian, whose effect is this card cannot be destroyed by a monster that has 1,900 or more attack points. It has 1,400 defense and 1,200 attack. So what I would do is I would equip Black Pendant to it to increase... Or no, not Black Pendant. Does Black Pendant increase defense? It might have been Black Pendant.
No, Black Pendant increases attack.
Just attack? Okay.
Yeah.
There was some card I would equip to him that would increase his attack and defense points by 500. So as long as he was in defense mode, he literally could not be destroyed except for card effects. Because his defense points would rise to 19, which is where the cap for what he can be destroyed by stops.
I think Kunai with Chain can do attack or defense.
I think you're right. I think that's what I used to do. Yeah. But it was a really, really dumb strategy. Clearly wouldn't work nowadays, but...
But yeah, I mean, my deck is fairly simple. It's mostly, I'm going to stall you until I get something big out. But that strategy doesn't work anymore. Back then, it worked perfectly. I was able to win tournaments with that strategy. But now it's more of like, oh, you're going to stall me? That just makes me better at this game than you. It's like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Especially when like I hear things like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Pot of Greed's off the ban list." Excuse me, of the what?
Yeah. Dude, that'll be the day when Pot of Greed gets unbanned. That'll be the day.
Yeah. I remember back in the day when like more than half of my deck was banned.
Right.
And that's why I stopped going to tournaments, because like it was such a good strategy. I didn't want to like leave it behind
Right.
to pick up one of those newer ones. But now more than half of it's acceptable, and it's like, what the heck? Since when?
I'm imagining they'll probably errata something like Graceful Charity. Like I can see them doing that, like Graceful Charity, draw 3 cards, discard 2,
three.
but for the rest of the turn, your cards and their effects cannot be activated on your side of the field.
Right.
The reason why Card of Sanctity or why Graceful Charity is banned is because of Dark Worlds. It's only still banned because of things like Burning Abyss and Dangers. So if they say that Graceful Charity, draw 3 cards, discard 2, for the rest of this turn you can't activate card effects, that literally, or like, once this card is activated, you cannot activate card effects. So that way, it literally removes the danger that you get from Graceful Charity, where you discard the 3 cards and then they get all their effects that like rob the field of your opponent's monsters. But yeah, you've definitely beaten me twice. It was once
with that deck?
Yeah, once with the duel on my channel where we played with our dual discs, and then once.
I mean, technically
3 times if we're counting our little skit, but
No. Technically 3 times, because we filmed that twice.
you're right, we did. So no, that he's right. Then I've lost 3 times. My bad, because we filmed my video twice, and I ended up choosing our first recording of it to post because it went. It was a longer video, but only because my intro was longer.
You lost so fast in that second video.
Yeah, it's like 2 turns.
2 turns.
2 turns. Yeah, 2 turns. I was able to pull up my barrel dragon.
Yeah,
which
insane.
shows you, like, if you can imagine 2 turns I could pull out barrel dragon. How many turns do you think it took me to pull out a higher armor dragon onto the field?
Right.
It was I pulled them out so fast, and people would just be like, "Why is that in your deck?" I was like, "Because I like winning. That's why."
Yeah, like when I duel people with like my Cyber Dragon deck, I'll get out like my 4,000 attack point Cyber or my 8,000 point Cyber End Dragon on turn 1. They're like, oh. I'm like, oh, Jay. I like the example. We did a little tournament on Tuesday, and I had to duel Jay for the first round. Jay's first move and only move for his first turn was to set 1 card. I go, okay.
Unfortunately.
Play. 8,000 Cyber End. I go to attack, and he goes, Scapegoat. And I go, so you're making 0/0 tokens? He goes, yeah. I go, piercing.
Well, the problem with that was I showed you my hand at the end.
It was a pretty bad hand. You were playing your Exodia deck, and it was pretty bad hand. I'll admit. Or no, what's...
No, it was a good hand. It was just I didn't want to use Magical Mallet to get rid of the 3 pieces. I started the duel.
No, it is Exodia that's in orange sleeves. I was trying to remember, is your Exodia in orange sleeves now?
It was that. I started the duel with 3 pieces, a Magical Mallet, and Scapegoat.
You had the opportunity to use Magic Mallet to save yourself.
I did, but I did not expect you to immediately do that. No, I probably would have changed my. If I was second, I probably would not have done that.
5 times out of 7, I'm gonna get Cyber End Dragon with 8,000 points on turn 1. Is that all like the interesting tech and like engines you play in your deck? Like
Yeah, that's pretty much the extent of how that deck runs and what helps run it.
Yeah. How about you, bud?
Okay, so for me, I run a Dark Magician deck. A lot of people don't like it.
I do. I like it. I just don't like that you lock field. That's why I stopped playing Dark Magicians because it was you and Mark, and I was like, I'm just gonna go back to Cyber Dragons. I do not regret my decisions.
Ironically enough, Dark Magician decks are the one deck I'm good at.
What's that?
Dark Magician decks are the one decks that I'm perfect against.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I cancel your moves. I'm like, ha, that was my whole plan.
Another reason why I'm making Gravekeepers. Because his deck relies on his graveyard, and Gravekeepers are like, you can't touch your graveyard.
So, the first card I'm going to talk about is Temple of Kings. I have that in there. It has a whole bunch of other effects that I don't even really use. Like the whole Mystical Beast thing. Like, I don't use that. The sole purpose of this card is so that I can play a trap card during my turn. So, I have Eternal Soul, which makes my Dark Magicians unaffected by opponent's card effects. I can play that turn 1 if I have Temple of Kings, and Eternal in my hand. And that already gives me a huge head start.
Right.
Especially if I have like a beautiful hand, say I also have Eye of Demise, which has happened plenty of times before. Like it, Dragon Knight, Eternal Soul, turn 1, opponent's already like, well, okay.
Yeah. You only play one Temple of Kings in that deck?
I play 2.
2? Okay. I was like, if you played 1, that's a little crazy, but two's a good idea.
Second card I'm gonna talk about is Archfiend's Oath. I put that in there not even too long ago. The purpose of that card is, whenever I want, once per turn though, I can pay 500 life points, declare a card name, and pick up the top card of my deck, and if it's the card, I get to add it to my hand. Now the purpose of that card is I run Dark Magical Circle, which I can excavate the top 3 cards, add a Dark Magician related card, Spell or Trap, to my hand, and then put the rest on top. Now, say I were to draw, or say the top 3 cards are like Eternal Soul, Magician's Rod, and Eye of Timaeus, for example. I can add Eternal Soul to my hand. I cannot add Eye of Timaeus though. So, with this card, I can pay 500 life points, name Eye of Timaeus, and just get it to my hand immediately. And all of a sudden, I'm set for that turn. So that is the purpose of that card. Now, the card I'm talking about now, everybody hates with a passion.
Stop playing it. just stop playing it.
This card is Secret Sanctuary of the Spellcasters. What this card does, it is a beautiful card. If I have a face-up spell card, I can play this card, and a spellcaster, of course. I can play this card. For as long as I have that spellcaster, my opponent can activate their monster effects or attack the turn they are summoned if it is a spellcaster. That slows down a lot of people. Basically everyone. I like to combo it off with also Secret Village of the Spellcasters, which is if you control a spellcaster and your opponent does not, they can't play spell cards. If I have them both out, the opponent is done. They can't do anything. I win, basically.
Bye, Power Bond.
I can guarantee you I have never lost a duel where I have had Secret Sanctuary and Secret Village out at the same time. Not even once.
Well, that's not even including if you have the Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight on the field, which protects both of them from card effects.
Yep. So yeah, Secret Sanctuary is definitely my favorite card in my deck at the moment, aside from the Dragon Knight itself, because it saves all of my back row. And the last card I'm going to talk about is actually a card that I just added today. It's called the Pilgrim Reaper. I haven't even really played with it yet, but the purpose of that in my deck is I run pretty much full dark deck. Full dark deck, actually. I don't run anything that's not dark.
You don't play Palladium?
No.
Oh, is that that's Mark? Mark plays Palladium.
Mark plays it. I used to play it. I stopped.
Oh yeah.
Because
Okay.
I didn't see much use for it anymore.
Right.
So what this card does is it gains 200 attack and defense for every dark monster in either player's graveyard. So I can already beef it up a lot just from my own monsters in my graveyard.
Right.
That's not including my opponent's. And whenever I want, I can detach material and make my opponent send 5 cards from the top of their decks to their graveyard, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about it for me.
I'm imagining a world where you manage to get that out. Like it's not hard at all, but like I'm assuming the only level 6s in your deck are the Apprentice Illusions, right?
Yes.
So like you'd have 2 on the field, really easy to get out. Knowledge, that's really easy. If you open both 2, you just discard 2 cards, get them out, do Pilgrim Reaper, and get 2 Dark Magicians out of it. So that's pretty cool. I'm imagining you milling the top like 5 cards of my deck and then just A, B, C. Well, I kind of want to duel you just to see if it'll happen now.
Well, the thing about that card is I'm pretty sure you wouldn't mill anyone that isn't a dark deck. That's another thing about that. I think he'd be smart enough not to do, because it says he only gains for dark monsters, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like me, he's not going to mill me because I'm a light deck. Why would he even bother?
Well, the reason I would bother, I'm gonna correct you there, is because there are a lot of cards in opponent's deck. Like there's people that run around their graveyards entirely. Like our friend Corbin, for example. I would never do that to him, even though he runs a dark deck. I would not do that to him because I would make a bunch of things set off. Other people, though, that are not so dependent on their graveyards, I send, say, Calculator to your graveyard. Stuck there.
Okay,
And that's, a way of... And on top of that, it's also a way of getting my opponent closer to decking out. If I don't want to just brute force it, because Dark Magicians are kind of hard to brute force it.
Right.
let's rephrase that. Most Dark Magicians are hard to brute force it. Your Dark Magicians are not hard to brute force it.
Well, my Dark Magicians don't exactly brute force. They shut down. I
Yeah.
had to do that because my Eternal Soul kept on being banished.
Man, I regret playing Dark Magicians and introducing you to Secret Village. This wouldn't be a problem.
No, that was
No, that was me first. I was like, all right, Secret Village and Spellcasters. What does that do? All right, you can't play any spell cards.
I thought
I was like that.
Sanctuary.
And then I think wait, me introducing you to Secret Sanctuary didn't, or me introducing Secret Village didn't introduce you to the
Sanctuary? No, that was Corbin.
Was Corbin.
That was
okay.
Corbin.
But yeah, like his whole lockdown strategy probably wouldn't be as big as it was if I never played Dark Magicians. So I blame myself.
We probably would have found out.
I blame myself.
The village. I think you would find out.
I owned Village actually before you
Yeah.
introduced me to the card. I just didn't use it. As soon as I saw this card, though, I knew immediately it could combo off with Secret Village.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what's my opponent going to do if I have them both out? They literally can't play their spells or their effects, so everything I have is safe. That is the whole purpose of it in general.
I'm just a little lucky that my deck runs with some spellcasters.
Yeah. See, that Pilgrim Reaper is a really interesting card. I don't think I've ever seen a card that says your opponent must mill the top 5 cards of the deck or their entire deck if less than 5. I usually see cards or effects where it's like your opponent must be able to mill 5 cards in order to do that effect. That's really interesting that he will let them deck out. That's really, really fascinating.
That is the thing I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. I can literally, if I can get my opponent pretty much to deck out with this card alone.
Well, that's gonna suck for Lightsworn.
Yeah, I took it from him to read it for like a second there, and I thought it said or their entire deck. Like, mill the top 5 cards or their entire deck. I was like, hello.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. Does that mean I'm done?
I was like, okay.
All I need is 2 level 6s and you're done.
You're dead. You're already dead. What? 2 level 6s. Pilgrim Reaper. Be gone.
Are you sure that's not bad? That was the case?
Yeah. Jay, you found the other calculators?
Yes, I actually did.
What was it? It was Calibrator and what?
The Accumulator.
Accumulator and the Calibrator, right?
The Calibrator.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So the Accumulator's the one for links, right?
Yes, gains attack equal to the combined link arrows of all link monsters on the field.
Times what?
300.
That sucks.
I think it's always...
That's pretty bad.
It's link arrow. Well, it's link arrows, which means it'd be like not just one. It's actually
It's whatever it points at, but that's still significantly less than number of levels you can put on the field. Like I can have 3 threes, but I can have like 7 8s.
And
That's
300.
That's exactly the point I brought up when he gave Santos that card. I'm like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's not really gonna do much.
Well, I mean, he can still link with it.
He needs to link with it. Yeah. Is it
It's still a card.
Is it a Cyberse?
I think it might be still a thunder, just like all the other.
Thunder.
Well, I mean, all is most.
Thundercats.
Yep, thunder. Because it's a thunder. Because
Really?
Yep. That's what my calculator is.
Every time I hear you guys say calculator, I'm thinking of like, oh, we're doing math now?
He's a thunder.
Hey, you wanna do some math?
You guys want to do some math?
Yeah, he's an interesting card. I thought about putting 2 of them in here, but I'm not sure about that.
Didn't you play 2 at one point?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I never did.
And then I imagine the Calibrator was just for ranks. Right?
It's ranks 300, same thing. It's basically the same thing.
The normal calculator is still stronger though.
It's always gonna be strong.
You have to agree that like your chances of getting more link arrows or more ranks on the field than you could get levels in that time, it's significantly lower.
The level 1 accumulator.
Well, I mean, actually, Corbin, I think, would beg to differ because he runs basically all Xyz in his whole deck, and he can bring out a bunch of Xyz all in.
Well, yeah. Well, when I dueled him, it wasn't too hard. It took him like about a couple turns to get an Xyz monster out, and only one at a time too.
He said he bricked really hard with you.
He did? Okay. I think he told me that too. And then when he dueled Garrett, he must have also bricked because it didn't look like he was doing too good that duel either. He was actually, I don't know.
No. He got a lot of stuff out with Garrett.
Against Garrett? Okay, I didn't know if he did. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't paying attention. I was like going through my cyber drive like how did I lose?
I had to prepare a lot for Corbin.
Yeah.
Because for him, that's where honest comes in handy. I won't lie.
You guys were like, oh, Corbin's like I think at one point, it's going to be really funny if you watch this, I doubt he would, but yeah, at one point you guys were like, oh yeah, he's like on a high horse, like he's like, oh, I'm better than you guys, blah, 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 so we're going to have this guy take him down. I was like, oh, I really want to see that. Oh well, guess I can't. The other day was my first time meeting Corbin, and he's like the nicest guy I've ever met, like...
No, he's no. That's the thing.
He's a nice guy.
No, he's not. But when it comes to dueling,
though, he will rub it in your face if he beats you once.
He was like when I
get to know him. Get to know him.
I gotta be on a different level than him.
Be in our clique.
I've had duels where I have beat him. I have miserably beat him to death, and he still brags about how it took me so long.
Well, the thing is, it's like I'll make you stall. I'll pull a mark on you.
You can't tell me I took too long if it took me one turn.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that to you. I mean, the scapegoats. You saw my hand.
Dark Magician decks, unfortunately, don't run like that. They are definitely not an OTK deck.
Yeah. I mean, they could be, as long as you're willing to wait.
Well, I know there's more support coming. I'm like waiting for that.
Yeah. Someone was telling me that they should errata.
That was me.
Eternal Soul.
We talked about
the
that.
way that you guys had explained it to me was you were like, oh, they should errata the Chaos Magician is what I had heard you guys tell me. I was like, that's weird.
No, they're not. They're not going to errata the Magician. What I believe, don't quote me on this. What I believe they are going to do is, because of the fact that Eternal Soul will let you bring out Dark Magicians every single turn, which would combo off incredibly crazy with a new ritual.
Right.
I think
another bigger problem. Hold on.
What they're gonna do is make Eternal Soul only be able to be activated during your turn instead of.
I was thinking of
whenever.
Instead, it would only be able to work on cards whose original names were Dark Magician. That would work significantly better because because like the whole point of Eternal Soul is it's a trap card. If you can't activate it on your opponent's turn, what's the point?
I don't think they are gonna do that.
The biggest problem
because of the fact that they wouldn't be able to bring out Dragon Knight, and that would make a lot of players just start playing Dark Magicians in general.
Right, but you gotta admit you really want to see Dark Magicians top of YCS.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
The biggest problem though right now is no one really plays Dark Magician in the first place, so they're not going to really see. I don't think anyone really plays him in tournaments.
I was really proud to figure out that the second that Stratos got unbanned, there were like three hero decks that topped a YCS, and then there was 3 Cyber Dragon decks in that same tournament, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm really proud of Cyber Dragons and Heroes, my 2 favorite decks in the entire game. I'm so glad they both got really close to topping a YCS. Of course, they both lost to Sky Strikers, but it's still, like, doing really good. So, I really want them to make more hero support. I feel like we need, like, Neospatians... They need to ban Neospatian Connector now, because she's now part of an FTK. If you just need one of her, and then if I had something to do with Dolphin, it's really annoying. It's her and Borreload, I believe, is what the combo is. I think I'm totally wrong about the Link monster that she's involved with, but it's... I'd have to look it up, but it's a big problem that Konami needs to now hit a Neospatian monster. That's a really bad thing that Konami needs to hit a Neospatian monster, the deck that isn't supposed to be very good. I wonder if Konami ever just makes decks and like, this is a casual deck. This is a deck that you're not supposed to compete with.
And then someone brings it up to it.
And then someone builds an FTK around them and they're like, shit.
You know, the other card I could see being hit is the Circle. I think that might be actually a little bit more reasonable
I feel like they would never hit a Dark Magician card.
Unfortunately, that's what I said.
That's the truth. Like, they're just never gonna like. If they had the balls to ban a card that had anything to do with an original Yu-Gi-Oh boss monster like Blue Eyes or Dark Magician, alternative would be limited to 2.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about banning it. I'm talking about errating it. The
Right.
Circle. I think what they might do with the Circle is what I said with Eternal Soul. They might just make it so you can only banish on your turn or activate the turtle on your turn.
So you only can banish on your turn.
That would stop.
That
would
I'm okay
stop
with.
the whole ritual thing.
That I'm okay with. If it was like only Eternal Soul can be played on your turn, it'd be like, what's the point of it being a trap card then? But if you're like, let's errata Dark Magic Circle, so it's like it only works on your turn, I'm totally down. That makes a lot of sense.
That would actually make the whole problem with the new ritual for Dark Magician be a little bit less crazy, because the thing that makes it so dangerous is the fact that you can combo out Alpha Circle every single turn. And if you're like me, who can cycle your Dark Magician to like nobody's business with just the rod, you can just keep on banishing and destroying a card every single turn.
Do you plan on trying to tech in any Blackluster monsters? It's got that effect, and it's an amazing effect, in all honesty. But do you think you're gonna try it, teching in like maybe a super soldier or two?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting idea. I would definitely be down to try it, but depending on, I love my deck the way it is right now.
Right?
Honestly.
Yeah, no.
It's already beautiful.
That's a whole deck in its own. Is Chaos Dark Magician. That's gonna be a whole deck in its own that I'm really excited to see.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious how the deck would run.
That's something I said. It's like, I actually talked about you with this because I got mad that Rod can actually search Chaos Form. There's no way for me to search Chaos Form.
Play Magician's Rod.
Yes, I want to play Magician's Rod in my Blue Eyes deck.
Yeah, do it.
Do you realize how demoralized he felt when I killed him with Dark Magician and Blue Eyes on my field? I literally said, Dark Magician attacks, and then Blue Eyes finishes him off.
That's amazing.
I was like a slap in the face. He was so angry at me. I've seen him angry. I don't think I'd ever seen him that angry at me. Even when I steal his monsters, he doesn't get that angry.
Right.
Well, he killed me with a Blue Eyes, and then he had a Dark Magician.
Yeah. How's that copyright strike going over there, Sean?
It was for a video that was already taken down, and like they jumped on it so fast. It was like immediately as soon as it was like finished uploading. By the way, this is still unlisted. Oh, and there's a copyright strike.
What is it?
It was for a podcast. I was using a video that I was like, oh, we have priority over this video than you do, and I was like, but I already took it down. But then I realized that the podcast that I was intentionally trying to upload because it was the wrong podcast I uploaded, half the video is missing. So now I have to go back into my computer and figure out what happened. Yeah.
What was the video?
It was a D&D podcast.
Huh.
Yeah, we were just doing Dungeons and Dragons.
So like what was the thing in the background? What got striked?
It was Fallout 4.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Apparently, there was like
Was Bethesda just like stop?
pretty much. It
Wow.
was because Fallout 4 they play a lot of like
Bethesda
old,
was like stop showing off our good games.
but like they show off like a lot of old timey music.
You're right.
Like
yeah.
old jazz and old country.
Old jazz. Yeah.
And so there could be like the slightest faint little hum in the very back of the room with like a radio that's barely turned on,
And
that's
then
behind 3 doors, and like someone would be like, hey, that sounds like the ink spots.
Yeah.
Copyright. And it's
Bethesda
like,
just
oh,
dick
cool.
slaps you like stop. I've
Yeah.
actually been playing Fallout 4 very recently. Actually, I got back into it, and I'm really glad I finished the. I went through and I did the Minuteman ending.
Oh, ew.
No, what ending did you do?
I immediately turned left on that idea.
So I was with the Minutemen, and then I was with the Railroad, and then eventually when you get into the Institute, I'm like, oh hey, it's my son. Hi there, son. You don't have pink hair. I'm upset with you. I purposely gave your mother white hair and me red hair to hope you'd have pink hair, but whatever. I was actually really mad at myself that I didn't stream it. That I didn't stream any of me playing through. I think what I might do is I actually might I might go into one of my other separate profiles on my PlayStation and then stream it on get a couple people together and start streaming just a group thing. I just figured that just sounds really fun. But I got to the point where like Sean was like, hey, you got to go with this courser to go. Mm-hmm. Spoilers, by the way, guys. He's like, hey, I need you to go with this courser to go free these guys from the railroad and then bring them back. I got to that mission and I was like, the entire time I was conflicted, like, do I go tell the railroad or do I help this guy? Oh, I'll help him. And then I was like, nope, and I shot him right in the back. And I was like, mission failed. I'm like, oh, it's whatever. Maybe Sean won't know. And it's like, meet Sean at the top of the CIT building. I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. And I talked to him and he's like, yeah, we're enemies now. And I'm like, oh. He's like, you are now enemies of the Institute. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And the saddest part was, I then figured out that there was an ending because I installed a mod where if you do the Institute ending, you can get Sean as a companion. And he gets like this really cool power armor. But through reading the description for the mod, I realized there was an ending I missed out on. If you do the Institute ending, there comes a point where Sean is at where Father, you, and the 4 heads are at a meeting. and they bring up the fact that Sean has cancer, and that he's super close to dying. If you do the Institute ending, or if you don't kill him before one of the other endings, you find him on his deathbed, and he's like, hey, I know we're not friends, and I know you don't like my way of thinking, and you don't care either, so I'm just gonna sit here and die. And you can be like, look, bud, I need you to help me get into this terminal so we can help your people escape. And he's like, why would I help you? And you gotta do a charisma check to be like, hey, let you help me help them, get them out of here. And so he's like, fine, whatever, just leave me to die. And if you walk away, you turn around, you go to his terminal, you come back to him, and you try to interact with him, and it says, Sean's gone. And I'm like, wow, that's really upsetting. I was like really sad. I was an asshole to him eventually.
It sounds a lot like of New Vegas.
The Fallout 4 is my only Fallout game I've ever played. So go ahead and
Fallout
intrigue
3.
me. Pop my New Vegas cherry. Let's go.
In New Vegas, you have all these machines that are kind of like, because it's in Vegas, and these machines are kind of like
The slot machines, you know?
No.
Oh,
They're like robots with one wheel, and they kind of like bobble around a lot. And you're like,
All right.
that's kind of cool. I like these robots.
Yeah.
You find out that what's his freaking name? I'm gonna call him Mr. Vegas for the sake of the story. So
Okay.
Mr. Vegas pretty much goes, and he's the one who's controlling all of them. At the very end of the game, you get to meet him.
Right.
He is like this 103-year-old man dying of 4 different types of cancer.
Wow.
And the machines are what's keeping him alive. And you have the option
To pull
to
the plug?
unplug that machine.
Are you kidding me?
So you walk up to him and you're like, hey, buddy. Click. He's like, what was that noise? Nothing. And you can watch him die.
The modded ending was like, oh, you can give Sean a cure. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I hope I get to do that, even though I decided not to go with him. And then he dies, and I'm like, oh, I really wish I could have gotten Sean. I'm like, I installed this mod for no reason because I ended up betraying Sean. But then I ended up getting the robot Sean, the little kid synth Sean. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. So I'll talk to him. I can't tell him to go anywhere. He's stuck at the Minuteman Castle. And I'm like, what's the point of having you here if you're not going to go anywhere with me?
Yeah.
I wish he was like a little older, but at least he had pink hair, so I was proud of that. I was like, hey, because when I made my character, for anybody who knows what my old channel was, the Capuchin Gamer, I think I still have my Saints Row 4 Let's Play up there because it's my favorite Let's Play I ever owned. So when I went through and I deleted every single video I had on that channel, I kept those videos. We had it, me and Steven did a video where it was Saints Row 4 re-elected, because we played re-elected once on the channel already, and we never finished it, so we were like, all right, we're gonna finish it this time, re-elected. And I made my character Sergeant Morningwood. His full name is Sergeant Orgasmo Morningwood, because I ended up putting him in Fallout, and I gave him that first name because Codsworth will say it, and it's the funniest name ever.
Yeah.
And his whole point is that his eyes are big. His eyes are just so big and super cute looking. Kawaii desu was the word I continue to use. And so when I put him into Fallout, I was like, all right, I'm going to put all his points into charisma so he can talk his way out of any situation to make it look like his eyes are just making people melt for him.
Okay.
And so then I was like, man, I want to make him a little different. What if I give him a big old shovel chin? So I'm messing around with the slider for his chin, and I bring it out to about here, which is about, for people who can't see, it's about 2 inches away from my chin. I gave him like a devil's patch. His devil's patch flows off his chin like a waterfall, which is glorious. And then I gave the wife, because you can customize the wife and the husband, I gave the wife the chin too. And I was really hoping that when I got to see Sean, because I'd never finished the game before. I'd never finished Fallout 4 until just yesterday. I was hoping he'd be a dude with long pink hair like I had, but pink because it would be a mix of white and red, with a big old chin. I was like, I want him to have big old eyes, a giant chin, a little nose, and this pink flowing hair. And sadly, it was nothing like what I had expected, and I was really sad.
Speaking of character development, this was the opening scene of the podcast. I have to now go back and see what went wrong. So it was D&D,
right?
And I decided what better game to play than Oblivion for a D&D podcast.
Makes sense.
I played as a Khajiit, and this is what that Khajiit looked like.
What is that? Oh my god. His face. Did you hit him with a freaking platter? What did you do?
So here's the best part about Oblivion.
Right.
Is everything is, you can edit anything on Oblivion to the point of like inhumanly warped body features.
Right.
For this particular character, for everyone who can't see, I took his face, stretched it completely out, took the entire part of his face, and then made it inwards.
It looks like he was hit with a dinner platter. It's pretty great.
It looked like he was stretched out, then smashed, and then everything else that was left over was pushed inwards.
It's like if you stepped on a Stretch Armstrong, but it was a cat.
Oh, he was such a beauty, especially when he had full armor.
Oh my god.
But his face wouldn't fit in the armor, so you see a piece of his face hanging, and you're like,
oh my god.
Oh, you got a little bit of you dripping out there.
Yeah. Was it to bring it back to Yu-Gi-Oh, because it's a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. I do like going off track, but to bring it back to Yu-Gi-Oh, there's like a Raider archetype, isn't there? I seem to remember there being one.
There's almost an anything archetype.
Yeah, there's a potato chip archetype now, so that's a thing.
There's what was
yes, there's a potato chip archetype now, Jesus.
Serious?
Yes. Yes.
What was those 3 cards? The Ojo brothers or
The Ojama brothers?
Ojama brothers?
Yeah.
There's an entire arc.
Yeah, yes there is.
And it is useless.
That's my next deck.
It is a useless deck.
It's not, because the deck works with with the light union monsters.
Mm-hmm.
The entire point of the deck is if you want to play a really, really, really good machine engine, you can play Ojama monsters over and over again, and then you play Oja Assimilation, and it treats them as light machine union monsters, and you can send them to the graveyard to summon your ABC Dragon Buster, which is one of the strongest machine type monsters in the game. You can actually use them in a rather efficient manner to get this amazing machine type monster out, which I've always appreciated. He's looking up the potato chip archetype.
You were not kidding.
I was not kidding. No, they're a thing.
He is not. I think the most useless deck I have ever come across, and I hate to say this, but it's the level soldier deck.
The level soldier deck. The Silent Swordsman deck?
Huh?
Silent Swordsman?
What levels 1 through 7?
1 through 7. Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a thing. They function like Armor Dragon, with maybe a couple more effects than what Armor Dragon had.
Right.
But to play them is ridiculous in order for this to function properly. You'd have to combine that with an even better deck.
Right.
If you run those cards.
Right.
If you don't, then if your entire premise, like how my deck ran with Armor Dragon being the focus, if you ran a deck where that was your focus,
Right.
you're gonna go nowhere very fast.
Right. Before we wrap this podcast up, I wanted to bring up something that you just talked about, where you have to throw something into it. You have to throw something into a bigger deck to make it work.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build a Buster Blader deck, but the deck isn't that good. So what I'm doing is, because Buster Blader has a bunch of normal trap cards that I have to play triplicates of most of them, and it works with dragons, I decided I'm going to take a couple copies of Lair of Darkness cards and throw them in there. Lair of Darkness, their main boss monster, is a dragon monster, so that worked out. And then they have a card in there that I'm playing 3 of, which is a monster that I think when you summon it, it adds a normal trap card from your deck to your hand. So I summon her, and she'll just add one of the Buster Blader traps to my hand that I want. The deck also works with like level 1 dragon tuners, because the deck is built around tuning Buster Blader into the Buster Dragon and stuff like that. But I'm probably going to finish my Gravekeeper deck way before I finish Buster Blader's deck, only because the extra deck for Buster Blader is going to get expensive, and the Gravekeeper extra deck is going to be super cheap because it's all just generic stuff that everybody has. But with that said, thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. I'm really glad we got around to doing another podcast. We tried making one a while ago about the ban list, and the day before I went to upload it, the December 2018 ban list came out, which banned everything, which literally hit everything we talked about. So I was just like, no need for this. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this podcast, make sure you hit the button in the center of the screen to subscribe on the spot. Hit the playlist in the upper left-hand corner to check out Drappep's video, where I dueled him comedically, and then check out the playlist in the lower right-hand corner to check out my video where we dueled for real with our duel discs. And go into the comment section below, tell us what you guys want to see and hear us talk about next. Hit the button, the bell button. I'm stuttering a lot. I don't know why I'm stuttering. I'm stuttering. I'm usually way better at this outro, guys. I promise. This doesn't happen. I swear.
Lies.
But hit the bell button to be notified next time we upload, and go into the description below to check out our Discord, our Patreon if you want to support us, and the life point calculator we normally use. This has been Cole.
Jay.
Drappep.
And Jesus.
Peace out, guys.